Blessed to be part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up, we'll hear from Holly and Barb and you. Plus, what happened yesterday on Capitol Hill, where we had testimony by the Assistant Attorney General with Congress. It's something that you have to hear. And once you hear it, you'll comment about it here with us at KIDO Talk Radio. Joining us now, our great friend Michael Dougherty. Apparently, some of those electronic devices for your kids, well, they can lead to people spying on you. You're just full of good news, aren't you, sir?
Yeah, I'm like the cyber Grinch. I don't want to send everybody into paranoia. I just want people to be aware that there's a downside to all this great technology, because it's called the Internet of Things. So, we don't get that the weaker systems and chips that were in the 50s and 60s in development that you'd have to have a wide-body jet to move around are less powerful than what we hold in our hand today. And so, oh, wow, it's so small, it's so nifty, it can go everywhere. So now we're putting these things everywhere, including some people inside of toys. So Europe's gone a bit nuts because they've got Germany just removed a doll called Kayla, because it was capable of transmitting signals and recording audio and video. Now, when you click on the little button that everything's okay when you're an adult and accept a private party's, contract to use their technology, that's one thing. But when it's a kid, and part of the downside of you not reading that is that they could record the kid, or, this is, most people are not sick, but there's a lot of sick things that can happen when people know what your kid's doing and what's going on.
Indeed. Michael Dougherty joining us here. Kevin Miller in the morning. So here's the basic follow-up. What can people do?
Well, it's terrifying. You don't want to have people lead on fear, but you got to get people's attention. So just know, look, and it's not just the doll, right? It can be your refrigerator, your car, your airplane, your TV, your clap on, clap off, lamp. I mean, it's everything. And these things record. And, some of them record for a minute, some of them record for 20 seconds, some of them record, malfunction. And when people get into stacks of data, they can look for things if they have access. And so, it's just something to be aware of. And the other side, which I think is a non-tech side that I put my 2 cents in, is, it's important to have children use toys for their own imagination and creativity and develop their imagination and creativity. And you have such a technologically sophisticated toy, it does all that for them. Where's the learning? Where's the fun? And plus we teach them that everything's automatic and everything comes to them. And then they get to be adults thinking everything's automatic and everything comes to them, and then we have a problem.
Right.
So there's a lot of reasons not to get such sophisticated toys.
Well, how about Tinker Toys or Lego Logs or something like that?
What are those? No, I was kidding. Lego's gone crazy. See, I had Legos and Lincoln Logs and Tinker Toys, and I was a Lincoln Log fanatic. But I tell you that Lego really has turned into this big deal thing. Good for them, And so, and that's right there. That's a great point. Yeah. Or just going playing down the street, but that's kind of an off topic.
Michael Dougherty, let's talk a little bit about avoiding getting scammed during the holiday season where everybody's buying online.
Well, the scamming goes up because this is basically 40-50% of retail's annual business is this season right now. So there's a lot of fruit on the tree for scammers to pick. And it's the petty thieves of cyberspace. So don't be paranoid, but don't use a debit card. Use something that's got some backup in case you do get scammed. So use your charge card. Check your receipts, check your statement, check your bank account. That's pretty much it. Back up your data. But this is only the good side of artificial intelligence, is that who's paying for all this fraud if you use your charge card? The charge card companies. You think they don't have hundreds of millions of dollars? So they're starting to use artificial intelligence and more analysis to know your patterns So I'm sure most of us might have realized if we're outside of our normal pattern, whether it be in a different part of the country or a different type of retail shop or even in Europe, or that we try to chart something, we'll get a ping. Is this you? So they'll check on you, which is good to know because they'll be paying that bill if it's not authorized and it goes on your statement. They'll take it right off, but someone's paying for that loss. And so they have our back in that way. So I'm a big proponent of just being, keeping your doors locked, but that doesn't mean not going outside. Let's just enjoy the season, but let's just be smart with a few basic things, and you should be good to go.
Want to comment on Roy Moore? You like the politics.
Thanks a lot. So I'm here in Georgia, and talk about terrible choices. I put a thing up on Facebook with two cars crashing. I said, "Well, the GOP messed up another two-car funeral." Thank you, Mitch McConnell. So, that's a lose-lose situation, and that guy will be in and out of there in 2 years, and hopefully we will not be hearing from Roy Moore again. Look, the guy, if you take away all the allegations about the man recently and just what he did that he doesn't fight about, there's a lot to be concerned about with Roy Moore. And so that's it. But I do think it's dangerous to try to indict people, the press, without due process. And so I actually am glad that he got to go to an election and the people got to speak. Because I think these mob mentalities ruining people often can be wrong. I think that they did that to him because of everything he's done. Other than that, this getting tossed off the Alabama Supreme Court twice, really putting the rule of law secondary to his religious beliefs. These are all dangerous precedents. So it worked out.
Michael Dougherty, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, sir.
People want to get a hold of you, learn about all the wonderful things going on in technology. What can they do?
Well, you can check out the National Cybersecurity website or just Google it. And my website's thedevilinside.thebeltway.com. National Cybersecurity Society is about small business and educating and protecting small business from these big dog regulator expectations that we certainly can't afford. And my personal fights with the government are at thedevilinside.thebeltway.com.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Take care.
All right. Michael Dougherty joining us. We continue on. Thank you for your patience. Holly in Caldwell, you're on with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey. How's it going?
Hey.
So I had a friend a few years ago that was working with, I'm not sure if it was the BLM or the Forest Service in Wyoming, and the Department of Interior came and had a meeting, and they were talking about anytime they did a research study that they expected that there'd be at least 2 to 3 paragraphs of information in that study about climate change. And my friend is older, and he stood up and said, hey, there's a lot of evidence that some of that's not even real. And so, of course, he was immediately told to sit down and lost his job not too long after that. And
wait a minute. He said he questioned climate change, and then all of a sudden they said, that's enough out of you, and then he lost his job?
Yeah, and also that it had to be in every study, whether it was found in the study or not. They wanted a couple paragraphs about that. So then I was talking with one of my other ranching families, the Hage family in Nevada, and she said that she looked back on Forest Service websites, and the UN Agenda 21 information has been on the Forest Service websites that she could find even in the 80s. And so there's just a lot of this that kind of pieces together with wanting ranchers off the land, restricting the use, tying up the water, making it so it's harder for the public. And really the biggest issue I see here is we shouldn't be making UN agreements about how to use our land. That's why President Trump said that those agreements are not non-binding. Our land is supposed to be used by the people, and it violates our Constitution. So I just encourage my friends to join the John Birch Society. They can go to jbs.org. My friend over there has a lot of information that can kind of tie all of this together.
Well, what do you think if people say, ooh, the John Birch? Ooh.
Well, I don't know why they would say that. I think that if you read on their website, it's pretty cut and dry about how it helps our Constitution be maintained. And I think obviously many areas of our government are not having that happen. And it seems like in many cases they're kind of running it however they want. And then they teach all this climate change religion in the school systems. And so, of course, they've got a lot of support because they got kindergartners believing that if they don't recycle the milk jug, that something's going to happen and they're not going to have drinking water in 10 years. So.
Well, you're just full of good news.
Yeah. I don't mean to be a doomsayer, but it does kind of tie all together. It's not rocket science to piece these things together. And especially when you see the things happening in the Bundy case in Nevada, trying to push those poor people off their land. I mean,
but I go back to, you have people that are ranchers, that are farmers, that have prominent positions in state government. And, those folks used to be independent, and instead of like, hey, let's stop this, let's stick up for the state of Idaho, all we're getting is, nothing we can do about it.
Well, I think you're right. I think, unfortunately, is a lot of good people could do something about it, but everybody thinks there's nothing they can do about it. And if more people speak out and actually care and get educated, we can do something about it. But you're right. If people sit around and don't think about it and don't want to, we sure can't.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Holly. We appreciate the call.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. How do we top Holly? We go to Barb in Sunny Slope with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio.
Oh, I'm not sure. I probably can't top Holly. But I could start off with what I'm going to say with a kind of funny story.
Well, we need some humor after that one.
Yeah, relating to the guy that called in a little earlier about the concerns about technology. I have a friend who had an iPhone, and it was in the back of his pocket. And he's a rather colorful friend. He has very colorful language, which I won't describe on the radio other than that. And he is talking to a neighbor about his feelings about what the government is doing these days. And he is using his rather descriptive language, at which point Siri, out of his back pocket, said, we should not be using language like this.
Wait a minute. This guy was swearing, and all of a sudden Siri jumped in?
Siri jumped in and told him he needed to
Siri needs to mind its own business, or Siri can go.
Well, he made sure that Siri went after that. Let me tell you, he did not realize what was going to happen.
So now Siri's monitoring his language.
Siri was monitoring his language. Yeah.
I thought this was good news. I mean, first we're talking the government spying on you and everything else, telling you to go to sleep, and now today we've got Siri telling people not to swear.
That's right. That's right. So, and I read this morning that, thinking also of Alabama's recent election, that they found that 5,329 dead people voted for Jones.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday, and as you know, Barb, I've got a lot of connections to that state and still do. Some of my great friends are there. And this is what hasn't been reported. And I think I'll do the truth about the Alabama election, that Alabama passed a law that allowed the criminals to vote. So it gets better. Now, if you're a felon, you're not supposed to get the right to vote back, except in the state of Virginia and a few others, because they want the convicted felons to vote, and I guess predominantly they vote for the libs.
Right.
So in Alabama, it was just supposed to be the ones that were convicted of misdemeanors. Well, apparently, in their great rush to liberate the voting rights of convicted criminals, they forgot to put in that differentiation between the people that committed the misdemeanors and the felonies, so they all voted.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You won't hear that from anybody else.
Did they miss that in the reports?
No, that's not from any reports. That's from our own primary sources, cultivated by Kevin Miller, yours truly.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It's getting bad. Well, I wanted to also expand really on the things that Dorothy Moon was talking about, to discuss the sealed documents that
I see.
are...
This is Barb's review and commentary on the news. Is that what we're doing?
You got it. on the sealed documents that are going on in Nevada. These things, we don't have sealed courts here in the United States. At least we haven't until the Bundy case that I know about. They have a kill list that the BLM had listed for listing the Bundys first, of course, that they're trying to keep quiet. They had military satellites and drones that were being run by the military that were evaluating the activity. They had real-time communication intercepts between the Patriots and off-site support. They had active monitoring of Internet traffic regarding the events at the ranch and monitoring of real-time video. And they had a person working for the prosecution, where this is partly coming out, is they have a person working for the prosecution who said some of this information should be made known. And the prosecution doesn't want it made known, so they fired him. Well, since then, he has become a whistleblower. He said that that the government said at that time that they will take back their land. They acknowledged this was not about cows, that they needed to take back, and I quote, their land, as they need to fulfill international obligations. It was never about grazing rights other than securing a clear title to the land and further demonizing any patriotic resistance. It's my understanding, based on the information from this source I'm reading here.
Yeah, we don't really like read along with Kevin Miller in the morning.
Oh, okay. So anyway, we'll not finish that. But they're sealing these proceedings so that they can do whatever they want. They can protect what the prosecution is doing behind closed doors. They're trying to resurrect this trial after so much has come out. But I don't know how we require the government to follow its own laws and have it as an open hearing.
All right, Barb, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we've covered everything we can about the lands. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And just as we predicted, the news media is catching up with us. Thousands of Alabama felons registered to vote in a last-minute push to undermine the election of Roy Moore. More on that in a minute. Pro-Life, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Yeah, it's pro-life on here. Mr. Doherty was saying that Roy Moore is not a good candidate. Well, he was the best candidate. He's willing to stand up against unconstitutional government in a big way. And that's why Republicans and Democrats and everybody doesn't like him. And so you hear all of these news people say he wasn't the ideal candidate. He was a flawed candidate. The only flaw he had was that he stand up for truth all the time. And I think that the women are lying. And I know one of them is lying, the Nelson woman. She's definitely been proven that she's been a liar about it. And so I'd love to see some kind of court cases or even Congress take up a lot of these lying people. They need to be able to have to go before the nation and tell their story and have a rebuttal from the person that's being accused. And we have to stop this removal of people by accusation. That is really ridiculous. But that's all I've got to say today. And
you sound a little
I love
upset.
the Bundy family.
You sound a little angry today.
Well, I'm a little mad with the whole society because everything's run by peer pressure instead of people following their conscience. And they shouldn't do that. They have to be independent and decide for themselves what's right. But people don't. They think the experts know what they're talking about, and they don't. They're just being led around by other experts that don't know what they're talking about. So anyway,
that's very insightful. That was very insightful. Thank you.
Well, hey, God bless your show. I hope it goes statewide.
I hope it stays on the air.
Yeah, well, I'll be listening.
That's one. You and my mom and Mrs. Miller. That's three.
Well, hey, I told a guy on one of the other shows that your show was a real good show.
How'd that work out for you?
I don't know if he liked it or not. He didn't say anything.
Really? Did they give you the boot?
No, they were all right.
Sure. All right, Pro-Life, thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you, my friend.
Hey, bye.
Bye-bye. We appreciate that advertising and promotion. Traffic and weather together. And coming up next, we'll take a look at, the view from the White House, exclusively on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning, to John Decker at the White House, who joins us now. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. How are you doing today?
Marveling at the president's speech yesterday on the tax proposal and having the family there. I thought that was one of the best speeches he's given in quite some time.
It was a good speech yesterday. You know, the president's on the 2-yard line, just about to get it over the goal line, and I think that by next week he will be signing the biggest and largest tax cut in American history, the largest in more than 3 decades, and this is something that has been the focus for him over the course of the past 3 months.
Indeed, and it was something that was very different. He, said something a little bit about the fake news and said he didn't say fake news, and it was almost kind of humorous. It was, I don't know if it was the Christmas version of the president or not.
Well, maybe. Who knows? We always talk about this new version of President Trump, and maybe this is the president turning a new leaf. I don't know. But certainly it came a day after a big defeat for the president, and that was that special Senate election in Alabama. You may recall, he first endorsed Luther Strange in the primary. Luther Strange lost, and then he endorsed Roy Moore in the general election, and he lost. So the president obviously facing a different type of Senate in the new year once Doug Jones is sworn in as the new senator from Alabama. The margin for error is so small. It will be 51 Republicans, 49 Democrats starting in the new year.
John Decker joining us here. Without Roy Moore around, is the president free to just focus on bread and butter issues?
Well, yeah, I think that, the president still said yesterday he would have liked to have seen Roy Moore win. But, in the grand scheme of things, when you look at what he needs to accomplish in the long run, it was probably best that Roy Moore lost, because he would have been an albatross around the neck of all of those Republicans running for re-election next year, and now obviously they don't have to deal with questions regarding Roy Moore.
John Decker joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio, talking about the tax overhaul. So, John, if you had to, like we talk about the games or your beloved tennis, how would you handicap this to get through?
I would handicap it in such a way that I put all of my money on the president signing this legislation by the end of next week. I'm pretty confident. I've been saying that for a few weeks now. Republicans want to get this done, not just the White House, Republicans in the House, Republicans in the Senate, not just leadership, but rank and file. And over the course of the next 24, 48 hours, I think all of the concerns that some Republicans have about this legislation will be addressed. And so the president is set to leave town on next Wednesday, 12/20. It may be delayed a little bit. It may be a departure that may drag into 12/22, which is next Friday. But I think that before he leaves town, he will have signed the largest tax cut in American history.
Amazing. Right before the midterms.
Right. Well, it's a year out from the midterms, but it certainly gives momentum for the president going into 2018 for the rest of his legislative agenda. And it's a good way to wrap up the year. After all, this will be his biggest legislative victory in 2017.
John Decker, anything else on the horizon? You never know. A tweet, a this, a that, and
Yeah, well, the president tomorrow will travel to the FBI Training Academy in Quantico, Virginia. This comes a little over a week since the president wrote that the FBI's reputation is in tatters, worst in history, is what he wrote on Twitter. Tomorrow he'll be there to attend the graduation of the newest class of FBI agents. So it's going to be interesting to hear the president's remarks tomorrow in addressing this new class of FBI graduates.
John Decker, we always appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Have a great day.
You too. Our great friend John Decker joining us live from the White House, only on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Palm Beach Mike with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio.
It was Palm Springs.
Same thing.
Oh, just 3,000 miles apart.
You know,
but that's okay.
look, I'm a commoner. I'm not a highfalutin guy that takes Miniger 1 to Palm Springs, Palm Beach, and shoots his little selfie photos with the stewardesses and has a great time. I'm not bitter about being left behind like everyone else, but our great friend Mike Miniger joining us now here.
Unfortunately, I'm really going to bust your bubbles. Both your bubbles. We get on an airplane tomorrow. Sorry about that, but I had to go there. So tomorrow morning, I get on a plane, and my wife and I go to Vegas to see Bill O'Reilly tomorrow night with Dennis Miller. So that's the life.
What about your old friend Kevin Miller? I mean, I come down, hang out at Miniger's Auto Palace, and you could see me in Garden City sometime. Just trying to think of a good at the old Moxie Java. I mean, that might rival Vegas with Bill O'Reilly and Dennis Miller.
That's true. I would be honored to go have coffee with you. I mean, I was quite honored that you came by the old body shop. That was pretty cool. And then a couple days later, we attended the feeding, whatever you call that, where we went.
Yeah.
That was an emotional. That was a good thing for me to go do, and I look forward to doing it in Nampa here in a couple weeks or whenever we go.
Actually, you're going to be in Vegas because it's Friday is in Boise and Saturday is in Nampa.
Oh no, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
For the Boise Rescue Mission holiday feast, Christmas feast, yeah.
You know, and then, I mean, for my luck, it happens to be the Vegas Bowl with Boise State in Las Vegas on Saturday. So Slim Hips here got tickets to that.
Boy, the life of Miniger.
I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. I sometimes pinch myself.
Look, whatever you.
I said it on Facebook. No, not there. But you're dragging me to the gutter, and I told you, don't do that. But yeah, the first trip, the Palm Beach Springs weekend, however you want to put it, was all on my brother Pat.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't cost me much money because I'm rather tight. In fact, they call me Wally Gator. So I'm not throwing my money around.
All right.
And Bill O'Reilly.
Yes, big
I
time.
bought these tickets back 8 months ago for Bill O'Reilly, when I had a little coin.
You don't have to justify anything to us common folks here, you highfalutin folks in Garden City.
We call it the GC.
I like that, the GC, yes. Right.
I got to go. Hey, God, I didn't want to miss that. That sucks, but nothing I can do about it.
Well, you know something? You'll be there in spirit.
Well, I want to toss you out to Bill O'Reilly tomorrow night when we're sitting down and having a glass of wine. So I figured I'd endorse you. And
let me just say this about Bill O'Reilly. I'm not big time like Mike Miniger. I've been on his show a few times with him and without him, and I actually interviewed him once when I was a baby talk show host. And a lot of people say whatever they want. He was very nice to me when I didn't have my stuff together when I was doing the radio interview. And the coolest thing when he said, "Okay, Mr. Miller, are you ready?" And when we were doing the O'Reilly Factor, and people give Bill O'Reilly a hard time, but his professionalism, his intelligence will always be appreciated. And I'm glad you're going to see him. Dennis Miller, but O'Reilly, I think is.
Well, Miller, I honestly, I know you guys share the last name, and you're probably royalty, but honestly, he talks above me, and he can he can lose me. I think he's funny, but you are totally right about Bill O'Reilly. I really feel I'm a good judge of character, and I'll be anxious to see what the next couple of years brings for him, because I truly believe the man is innocent. I believe he's a typical 60s guy, and I'm sure that, you know, telling some gal she's hot chocolate or whatever, if that's a sin today, then I guess he's a sinner. But and I don't know that I believe any of it, but I have watched that guy I've been a 12-year committed guy to him, and quite frankly, there's nobody else in the lineup on Fox News anymore that compares with Bill O'Reilly. I've tried. I'm trying so hard with Tucker Carlson. I'm trying with Laura Ingraham. I really am, but you can't replace Bill O'Reilly. He's just the best there was, I think. So, my opinion.
Well, all right, Palm Springs Mike, you have a good time in Vegas.
Thank you, KM, and keep up the good work.
I'll keep an eye on the GC for you.
Yeah, drive down the street here and make sure the GC's in good hands while the governor's gone.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Goodbye. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mike. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.
Joining us now, it is the publisher of the Gem State Patriot, Tea Party Bob. Good morning.
Good morning,
Mr.
Miller.
Hey.
Great show this morning, by the way.
Well, thank you. I would hope they'd be great every day, or at least competent every day.
Well, I want to thank you for having Dorothy Moon on this morning to talk about the sneaky land grab from the Forest Service. You know, we've been publishing articles for years trying to make the citizens of Idaho aware of what was going on with the conservative cooperatives and how they were stealing away our access to some of the best areas of our state for recreation under the guise of protecting our land. And when you look at how they have allowed our forests and grazing lands to become less and less available, you have to blame the past four administrations for doing nothing to stop the theft of Idaho's most valuable assets. You know, they've given into the corporations and conservationists because they have the big money and they make the campaign contributions to keep them in office. Think about the fact that Speaker Bedke is a rancher, Brad Little's family, they're ranchers. These two have done absolutely nothing to protect our lands, but neither has our illustrious fake cowboy governor. You know, when you think about the millions and millions of acres of timber,
Did you just call the governor a fake cowboy?
Fake cowboy, yes, fake cowboy.
Ouch.
And the hundreds of thousands of animals that were killed due to these wildfires, it is unfathomable that citizens of Idaho are not screaming to high heaven about this travesty of justice that has affected our most valuable resources. You know, getting our land back should be the primary issue in the 2018 election. You want more money for our schools and lower taxes. You want less federal government regulation. You want our state to have less federal imposition because they give us 35% of our state budget. Then get the establishment to stop giving away everything we have. You know, but as usual, I doubt if we're going to see much of a change take place, as complacency seems to be the order of the day. I'll see you at the Christmas party,
well,
and Max wants to know if he's invited.
Who? Max. Ooh, I would love to bring Max, but sadly we have a policy against that.
Oh, that's too bad. He was looking forward to it.
That would be great to have Max here running wild. I agree, but I am not the decision maker, unfortunately, on that. And the last Christmas party, it took me 8 months to get out of the corporate doghouse.
All right, we won't bring Max, but we'll be there.
We actually had people, and you remember this, we had people kind of helping themselves to some of the people's desks. It was...
Yeah, they were wandering through the hallways. How do you allow them to do that?
Exactly. That was brought up to, once again, how I'm justifying my existence. So we'll see what happens. By the way, we're going to have the Kevin Miller Christmas party once again Tuesday, so we invite everybody to swing in. We ask that you RSVP Kevin at KIDOTalkRadio.com, and I guess you'll be running things.
You see, I told you enough people would want to come that you're going to have it.
Actually, no, sadly, we had 39 people respond.
That's the core.
And of... Fair enough. And look, we only have 4 mics because someone stole one, so there you have it. So who needs more than 4 people?
Well, I hope you have enough for me when I do my interviews.
Yes. We'll work on that, sir.
You have a great day, Kevin. Thank you again for a great show.
We'll talk to you soon, Tea Party Bob.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Carl in Cuna with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning. How are you?
After those last two calls, a little up and down here.
Well, this is my first time ever calling into a radio station, so
we're not really a radio station or a show. We just kind of show up here, so you're in good company, sir.
All right. I've been hearing about this business about the forest. I don't know what you call it, conglomeration or whatever. But I helped a guy build a cabin up in Chalice for the last 25 years, and on my travels up from Boise here, I've witnessed all the fires, and it just dawned on me, several years ago, I guess, that as I was witnessing all the firefighters, just college kids, especially like in Ketchum, or not Ketchum, Stanley, camping at. These are the jobs that were created, and you can look at things. You can look at this from the satellites, and you can tell what the forest management is versus the state in all the various states here. So that's my first comment.
God, you got more than one?
Yes.
Well, for having never done this before, you seem like a natural.
Really? Well, I just have a lot on my mind, I guess. I called in and listened to you for years. And
well, I'm just waiting for the second thought, sir. Carl?
Well, okay. Well, how about this? Everybody's crying about the parking issue, right?
Yep.
And all right. Well, how about the emission control issue? It's directly related to what you've been talking about this morning. That those forest fires come down and create these inversions over the summer and whatnot in the fall, and we're blamed from the emissions from our cars. I don't know. I mean.
No, I'm with you, Carl. Thank you for the call. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Maybe we should start another segment. Do we have enough segments on this program? Miller's must-reads, and then everybody else will do the same thing. However, if you didn't catch, and a lot of us don't have time or the energy to read the New York Times, there's a link on it from Drudge where you have just an incredible story from Selma Hayek on Harvey Weinstein, whatever. And it is so thorough and so in-depth. It is something that we haven't heard from a Hollywood actress. I highly recommend it if you get a chance to take a look and a listen to it. By the way, a big movie coming out, of course, The Last Jedi. We'll talk a little bit about that and take your phone calls at 580-5436-580 KIDO. Let's set the scene, shall we?
I saw raw, untamed power. And beyond that, something truly special.
Something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake. And I need help.
Now, George Lucas says The Last Jedi is beautifully done. I don't think he was happy with the last few Star Wars movies. And Star Wars is such a part of our society, even though the politically correct Walt Disney Company has taken over. We'll tell you a little bit about Star Wars next. First, traffic and weather. We have it. Very exciting stuff. And people are very excited about The Last Jedi. To me, I have not been a big fan of the new Star Wars stuff. You can see a major difference between the writing of Lucas and the Disney folks. And we always opine whatever happened to men. You know, lately men have been marginalized, men have been vilified, some rightly so, others falsely accused and ridden out from the industry that they've gotten a lot of success from. But when you have what Star Wars has done is essentially made Luke Skywalker into the new character Rey, and then everybody else is incompetent, the men being the supportive role, I think that we're having a major shift in our society, and we're teaching our men and our boys to take a back seat where historically, traditionally, in America at least, if not the world, well, you would say the world, where you had, Alexander the Great, you had, Caesar Augustus, all these great historical figures that were men. We seem to be rewriting those roles for women. Now, you're going to say it's entertainment. Don't take yourself so seriously. And again, this film seems to be focused on the younger folks, the millennials, and that's great if you're a millennial. If you're a codger, well, there's always Luke Skywalker. I think he has a big role in it. Appreciate you, Ray Amaya. Great job. God bless and keep the faith.